The first impeachment trial hearing for President Yoon was held this afternoon at the Constitutional Court, but ended in less than 5 minutes amid his absence. Amid the looming second arrest attempts of the president, the CIO, police, and the presidential security team met today, seeking to prevent any violence while the arrest is being carried out. North Korea fired more ballistic missiles this morning, the second time in the space of just 8 days. It's January 14th, 8 p.m. in Seoul. This is Newscenter. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. We start with the president's impeachment trial today at the Constitutional Court, which concluded within minutes due to his absence. The bench rejected a request by the president's team to recuse a justice. Our correspondent Oh Soo-young brings us the latest.
Meeting adjourned after 4 minutes. President Yoon's first impeachment trial hearing wrapped up almost as soon as it began, as the leader did not show up before the Constitutional Court on Tuesday.
As the respondent is absent, proceedings will not continue today in accordance with Article 52, Paragraph 1 of the Constitutional Court Act.
Yoon's absence was largely expected, as his legal team announced he would not attend the first session and submitted a series of objections to the court. These include an objection to the first hearing and the court's decision to fix 5 hearing dates without consultation. It also filed a request to recuse Justice Chung Kye-sun, who was appointed to the bench this month. Yoon's team cited her connections to the opposition Democratic Party and her husband's close connection with former Chief Justice Kim Il-soo, who is co-chair of the National Assembly's panel of lawyers trying to impeach the president. The court's acting Chief Justice said the bench rejected the recusal request and said the court's announcement of multiple hearing dates aligns with the Constitutional Court Act. Speaking to reporters, Yoon's attorney Yoon Gak-gun expressed deep regret and indicated the president's team will continue to contest the proceedings.
The rush scheduling of hearings is unnecessary. Even if hearings were scheduled through February 4th, there was ample opportunity during today's or the January 16th hearing to consult with and notify the defense counsel. Such omissions cast doubt on the fairness and neutrality of the trial process.
Meanwhile, the National Assembly's impeachment team called for swift proceedings and for the president himself to attend his trial.
The respondent is expected to continue employing various measures, even after today, in order to hinder the swift and smooth progression of the trial.
Yoon's absence at the first hearing means that the session has been rescheduled for Thursday. Now, if he skips the hearing a second time, the court can proceed without him. However, it's unclear how far the arguments can proceed at this point. During their 2 pre-trial sessions, President Yoon's lawyers and the National Assembly's panel failed to narrow their differences over the main grounds for impeachment due to various sticking points. First, Yoon's lawyers say the National Assembly's panel removing charges of insurrection as a main argument for impeachment makes no sense, as the Assembly's motion to remove him from power cited insurrection as a major reason. The Constitutional Court is expected to decide on this matter. Also, Yoon's team filed an objection to the court's decision to obtain records from ongoing trials and criminal investigations over the martial law declaration, arguing that it violates the Constitutional Court Act. By raising procedural issues and various complaints, observers say Yoon's legal team appears to be angling for more time, having criticized the court's focus on holding expedited proceedings. Yoon's team has also cited security concerns as state investigators seek to execute an arrest warrant to question the president over insurrection charges. These challenges, if accepted by the court, could delay the trial's progression. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
We now move on to the latest regarding the attempt to arrest President Yoon. For details, Arirang's Moon Hae-ryun joins us live from the president's residential neighborhood. Hae-ryun, I believe there was a 3-way meeting earlier this morning among anti-corruption officials, the police, and the presidential security team. What has been shared about that?
That's right, Tungmin. So the Corruption Investigation Office for high-ranking officials, the police and the Presidential Security Team held a meeting earlier today in order to discuss the execution of the warrant to detain President Yoon. Now, the CIO has said that the meeting will not influence their plans and that they simply listened to the opinions that were raised during the meeting. An official from the CIO said that the discussions were centered on ensuring a peaceful execution of the warrant, but no conclusions were reached. The CIO noted that it is waiting for a more solid response from the Presidential Security Service without setting a specific deadline, and further added that there are no additional meetings planned as of now. This comes following the public appeal from the President's Chief of Staff Chung Jin-seok this morning, which said the Presidential Office is willing to cooperate with the police and the CIO. This included options for investigation at a neutral location or through a visit. However, the CIO commented that they have yet to receive a formal request regarding alternative arrangements. In this morning's statement, Chung further emphasized that Yoon must be allowed to fully exercise his right to defend himself and present his position, as should be guaranteed for all South Korean citizens.
What has been shared about the timing of the second arrest attempt?
Well, Tungmin, it's been more than a week since the new warrant to detain Yoon was issued, and actually this just in, the police and the CIO have reportedly been granted access into the presidential residence by the Capital Defense Command's 55th Guard Corps. Now, it's also been reported that the police held a meeting earlier today in order to discuss matters related to the execution of the warrant. Now, the meeting reportedly took place today, this morning at 10 a.m., lasting for around 2 hours between the Special Investigation Team of the National Office of Investigation and commanders from the criminal task forces of the Seoul, Gyeonggi-do Province and Incheon police agencies. The execution of the warrant could begin as early as 5 a.m. tomorrow, and authorities aim to complete the execution within this week. Discussions focused on concrete plans on how to enter the heavily fortified presidential residence in Hannam-dong behind me, which is secured with barricades and barbed wire. Specific strategies were reportedly discussed, including measures to suppress resistance from the Presidential Security Team, searching the residence and detaining President Yoon. So approximately 1,000 personnel from the security investigation teams and regional investigation units of the 4 metropolitan police departments will be deployed for the execution of the warrant. Now, this includes 301 investigators from the Seoul Metropolitan Police Agency's Regional Investigation Unit. These personnel have completed the necessary procedures to be dispatched to their temporary assignments to the CIO, set for January 15th to the 17th, so tomorrow until Friday. And this suggests preparations for a potential 2 to 3 day operation, as formally reported, should the Presidential Security Service resist the execution of the warrant.
Hae-ryun, what is the atmosphere around the president's residential area like as we speak?
Well, Tungmin, I'm not sure if you can pick up on the sounds happening behind me, but despite the lateness of the hour and the cold weather, there is still quite a crowd gathered here at the presidential residence, and tensions are continuing to mount alongside expectations that the second attempt to execute the warrant will happen within the next 24 hours. So the proximity of the rally locations for both sides has raised concerns about potential clashes, and to prepare for any possible incidents, the police have positioned riot squad vehicles between the groups in order to separate them. Security around the presidential residence remains tight, with the presence of armed guards becoming more prominent. So photos were taken yesterday showing heavily armed security personnel patrolling the area wearing helmets, masks and tactical gear. It appears that the Presidential Security Team is further reinforcing security measures inside the residence, with barbed wires and chains placed in various areas within the grounds. And that's all I have for today, so back to you, Tungmin.
Okay, Hae-ryun, thank you for the coverage. That was our Moon Hae-ryun reporting live from the president's official residential neighborhood. The rival parties are now each pushing at the National Assembly their respective versions of a bill calling for a special counsel investigation into President Yoon. The ruling party announced its drafts, quote, excludes unlawful components, as stated in the opposition's, while the main opposition urged the PPP to propose a more concrete plan. Our National Assembly correspondent Lee Si-hoo reports.
The ruling People Power Party announced it has decided to propose its own version of a bill for a special investigation into President Yoon's short-lived imposition of martial law that excludes what the party calls the unlawful components of the version drafted by the opposition parties, and with further restrictions on its scope and depth. Floor leader Kwon Sung-dong told reporters on Tuesday that the PPP's proposal leaves out, quote, unconstitutional and toxic clauses stated in the proposal by the main opposition Democratic Party. These are mainly the allegations that Yoon and his aides instigated an insurrection and purposefully induced foreign aggression. Kwon further urged the DP to engage in negotiations as suggested by acting President Choi Sang-mok. If the DP does not agree, Kwon warned that his party will ask the acting president to veto the bill. Tuesday's announcement follows seeming discord among PPP members earlier, who up until the day before were divided on whether the party should pursue an investigation into its conservative president. Following Kwon's announcement, DP spokesperson Kang Yu-jung said the opposition is open to discussions once the ruling party has proposed a concrete draft, adding that the PPP's bill appears to be more of an idea at the moment. Kang said that if such negotiations take place before Thursday, the day the opposition parties plan to put their bill up for a National Assembly vote at a plenary session, it's possible a negotiated bill could replace it. Earlier Tuesday, DP floor leader Park Chan-dae said the ruling party's, quote, refusal to investigate allegations of insurrection in itself is an acknowledgement of its involvement in the insurrection, and urged the PPP to cooperate with the opposition. The primary focus of the opposition's proposal is to uncover whether President Yoon unlawfully instigated an insurrection and violated the Constitution in the process. The initial version of its bill was vetoed by acting President Choi 2 weeks ago. The opposition's goal is to have the bill officially go into effect before the upcoming Lunar New Year holiday. Lee Si-hoo, Arirang News.
Shifting gears, North Korea test-fired a series of short-range ballistic missiles earlier this morning, posing its second act of provocation for the new year in just over a week, as the Trump administration is poised to return to the White House next week. Our correspondent Kim Jong-sil has more.
At around 9:30 a.m. on Tuesday, North Korea launched several short-range ballistic missiles from the Ganggae area in Chagangdo province. The missiles flew approximately 250 kilometers before landing in the East Sea, a frequent target in North Korean missile tests. The Joint Chiefs of Staff announced that South Korea and U.S. intelligence detected North Korea's launch preparations early and tracked the missiles in real time.
Our military has increased its surveillance and readiness to prepare for any additional launches, while closely sharing related information with the US and Japan.
Tuesday's SRBM launches mark North Korea's second missile test this year. On January 6th, North Korea fired an intermediate-class hypersonic solid-fuel ballistic missile from the Pyongyang area. Some analysts tie the launches to the upcoming U.S. presidential transition, while others point to broader strategic motives. Yang Mu-jin, president of the University of North Korean Studies, explains North Korea's possible intentions.
First, North Korea aims to speed up the completion of its 5-year defense development plan. Second, it's testing new short-range missiles. Third, it's showing confidence in its ability to launch various types of missiles anytime and anywhere. Lastly, it's a display of military dominance over Seoul and the greater capital region.
In response, acting President Choi Sang-mok condemned Tuesday's launch as a clear violation of UN Security Council resolutions, vowing a firm response in coordination with the U.S. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
Korea's exports of information and communication technology products soared almost 26% on-year in 2024. Our correspondent Lee Soo-jin covers this latest data.
South Korea's tech shipments reached a new annual high in 2024, led by record chip exports. Data from the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy showed that ICT exports last year came to $235 billion, up nearly 26% compared to the same month the year before. This marks a fresh high on a yearly basis, surpassing the previous record set in 2022, as ICT exports have continued to see year-on-year rises for 14 straight months. The ministry attributed this mainly to outbound semiconductor shipments reaching an all-time annual high of $142 billion in 2024, boosted by robust global demand for AI-related products. That's up a whopping 42.5% compared to the year before. Chip exports also surpassed the $10 billion mark for the 8th consecutive month as shipments of memory chips, including high-bandwidth memory semiconductors, showed significant growth. And a shift to a double-digit growth in mobile phones, as well as large demand for solid-state drives, also contributed to 2024's record-high tech exports. By country, exports to Vietnam and the United States, which showed a sluggish performance in 2023 due to a slump in the global economy, both recorded their highest-ever export value last year. China, South Korea's top export destination, accounted for over 40% of Korea's total ICT exports last year, on the back of strong chip demand. As for exports in December alone, shipments reached more than $22 billion, up more than 24% year-on-year. But it wasn't just December that saw solid monthly exports, as shipments surpassed a $20 billion mark for 5 straight months starting last August. And exports in the last month of the year were also bolstered by chip shipments, with both memory and system semiconductors showing significant increases compared to the previous year. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, January 27th this year has been declared a holiday to pave the path for a 6-day Lunar New Year celebration that authorities hope will serve to encourage domestic spending. Our Kim Do-yeon has more.
The government has confirmed that January 27th will be a temporary holiday, making this year's Seollal or Lunar New Year a 6-day holiday. While this had already been announced, the final confirmation vote by Cabinet was held on Tuesday during a weekly meeting. Acting President and Deputy Prime Minister for Finance Choi Sang-mok said this is to boost the suffering economy.
I hope people take the opportunity to recharge during the long holiday, while also boosting the domestic economy through local travel and responsible consumption. We ask that you participate in helping foster a spirit of mutual growth and solidarity.
He said this year's Seollal needs to be used as an opportunity to help the economy recover. He also added that, as previously announced, the government decided on the biggest Seollal support package. This includes increasing the supply of 16 key grocery items by 150% to help lower grocery bills, as well as train ticket discounts. In the meantime, he also made a push for locally produced gift sets.
During this holiday, to promote domestic agricultural and seafood consumption, we ask that you actively participate in buying the highly discounted gift sets made of local rice or local beef, the key Seollal gift items.
He also urged the members of the cabinet to share the government's efforts, saying if the public isn't aware of the policies, then they're useless. Meanwhile, he also said that as government agencies' New Year's briefings continue, the government has been focusing on resolving major issues. But he said speed is the most important aspect and called on cabinet members to treat each day as if it were a month during normal times. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
In the U.S., preparations are underway for the inauguration of America's 47th president on January 20th. Lee Seung-jae has the latest.
President-elect Donald Trump will return to the Oval Office as the 47th President of the United States at noon on January 20th, which is the third of 4 days of related events. 2 days before Inauguration Day on January 18th, the president's reception will take place, along with a fireworks display at Trump National Golf Club in Virginia. Later that night, a cabinet reception and vice president's dinner will take place. On the following day, a wreath-laying ceremony will take place at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier at Arlington National Cemetery. The official Inauguration Day will begin with a service at St. John's Church, where Trump will be sworn into office. Trump will then head over to the president's room near the Senate chamber, where, as part of tradition, he will sign nominations. After a luncheon hosted by the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, the presidential parade will take place from the Capitol to the White House. The parade will be followed by an Oval Office signing ceremony before Trump attends the Commander-in-Chief Ball, the Liberty Inaugural Ball, and the Starlight Ball. On the last day, on January 21st, inaugural activities will conclude with the National Prayer Service in the morning. Ahead of the inauguration ceremonies across various locations in the U.S. Capitol, security in the city has been significantly strengthened.
More than 30 miles of anti-scale fence will be used for the inauguration, more than any other NSSE ever before. The Secret Service's comprehensive security plan will continue to use drones as part of our protective posture.
Officials expect nearly 250,000 people will attend the inauguration, with many more expected in the downtown area of D.C. for demonstrations. Ahead of the inauguration, the U.S. Senate is also set to hold its confirmation hearings for the cabinet nominees. In particular, attention is focused on the confirmation hearing for the U.S. Secretary of Defense held on Tuesday. This comes amid controversy surrounding Pete Hegseth, who was investigated by police over sexual assault allegations. More than a dozen other confirmation hearings will take place over a span of a week as the country prepares for the inauguration of Trump. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
The air quality has got even worse than yesterday due to dust from overseas. The dust will clear from the central parts of the country tonight as the cold wind strengthens. However, as the cold wind moves south from tonight, the weather will get cold again tomorrow morning across the country. Cold wave warnings and advisories have been issued for northeastern parts of Gyeonggi-do province, as well as Gangwon-do province and the mountainous areas of northeastern Gyeongsangbuk-do province. On the other hand, along the east coast, where there's no news of rain or snow, the atmosphere remains extremely dry. Please be careful not to cause any wildfires. Tomorrow morning, most areas will start off below 0 degrees. Highs will move up to -1 degree in Seoul and Chuncheon, Gwangju and Gyeongju, 2 degrees. Temperatures will rise back again from Thursday. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
And that is Newscenter for tonight. Thank you for watching. a panel session coming up.